Yeah. Yeah, I did see. I just hit record. But yeah, I saw that. I I was shocked that Ohio State beat Clemson.
Mhm.
Um, and so I couldn't believe that like anyone thought they had a chance against Alabama because Clemson was like they were not as good as they normally are.
Yeah, Clemson had been I don't know, shady all year to me.
Yeah,
I knew this wasn't their year. I did think that they may get back, but when the committee flipped the pick so that Ohio State would play Clemson again, I knew Ohio State would get past Clemson. But here's how I knew too. It was so funny. I told my dad this because he's an Ohio State fanboy. Um, I'm like, they were doing like promo videos and like that Clemson score was like up in their locker room, and I'm like, that's like little league loser stuff. Like if Alabama like loses, like they lost to Clemson before, right? They're
yeah,
always worried about getting back to the national championship. Like that's the DNA of Clemson. I also
yeah,
just like that every Nick Saban recruit has won a championship if they
yeah,
stay.
yeah. That is. I
Out
saw that. I
mind.
saw that. Yeah,
I'm like, yeah, you guys are
some of
like,
them won multiple. Like
yeah,
most of them are multiple.
yeah, most of them are multiple. Yeah, everyone's won at least one because maybe they did a one and done something like that. But
Yeah,
I'm like, that's ridiculous. But yeah, they like had that score up, so I knew they'd beat Clemson. But I'm like, that's not the threat. It shouldn't be the threshold for a program like Ohio State. Like I told him they're
yeah,
underachievers. He's like, how? We win the Big Ten every year. I'm like, yeah, that's it. This is your second, your third time in the playoffs in like the last 6 years. Congrats, and you only won once. You like didn't make
yeah.
it first
Well,
round.
and everybody acts like the SEC is all that because it is.
Yeah, I mean,
Like
I
they've got the most NFL players coming out of the SEC. Now Ohio State is like nice, but
sure.
of the like no one comes close in the Big Ten. Not even
No,
close. I mean, the Big Ten has become like the Pac-10 or the Pac-12 or whatever, where it's just like there's a like Oklahoma on top, and then that's about it.
right. I saw another stat about the SEC. It was like, now this is skewed a little bit because usually the champions are Alabama, but hey, it is what it is. I think it was like in the last 20 years, the SEC champion has like won the national championship like 14 times of the 20 or something. And I'm like, and then like Alabama was, of course, like was like 11 of like the
Yeah,
14,
11. Yeah. I
or 10,
mean,
whatever they got. I'm like,
yeah,
good Lord.
it's. I mean, the fact of the matter is Alabama is the farm team for the NFL,
For
and
sure.
there's really like college football. I really don't care about college football that much. For that reason, is like there's no parity. It's like Alabama, Clemson, Ohio State, and then one like other team that squeaks into that fourth spot every year. Usually like Notre Dame or something like that, and like that fourth team is garbage.
Right.
Gonna get smacked,
Right.
and then and then like the oftentimes the like competitiveness between the top three teams isn't even that close.
Right.
So it's like, and here's the thing, like everybody's on Justin Fields, like he's nice. He'll be maybe a little bit better than Dwayne Haskins.
That's exactly what I told my dad. I was like, he's literally going to be Dwayne Haskins. I think he'll fall into a better situation than Dwayne because I don't think Dwayne's just like all bad. I think he kind of went to a situation that wasn't that great with the Redskins because
Yeah.
people
Well,
who
and
bought
his
him there left.
sounds like his character was exposed a little, which I didn't know anything about, but like
Yeah, I
apparently he
think
had a
that was
good
played
game
up a little
one
bit.
week and like was bragging. They lost. He had a good game and was in the locker room bragging about how well he did or something like that.
I think he was just in a bad situation. Because I think that someone who's a good judge of leadership is obviously Urban Meyer, and he had talked about when he was at Ohio State that he was a good leader, right? And so I think
Well,
I
hold
think
on, no, hold on. But isn't that like what every coach does? Like, no, regardless.
Kind of. If
I've
you
never heard a college
watch,
football coach say like, "Oh, he's not
right, they're not going to say anything
work
negative.
hard."
They're not going to say anything negative. But Urban Meyer is kind of specific about when he says like the person he raised about all time leadership of all his players. If you ever watch, is Tim Tebow and then Kenny Guyton.
Okay,
There's
love
like
Kenny Guyton.
yeah, love like and Kenny Guyton didn't have the skills to go to the next level at all. We all knew that.
Yeah,
But like, I mean, he would just rave on his leadership. So to me, when you bring it up over and over and over and over and over and over for those two guys, it's like, okay, that's legit versus just being like, we got good guys. Yeah, he's great for the team.
yeah,
But I think he went to a bad situation because the people who brought him there left. The people who were left there literally didn't like him. He wasn't given a fair shot, in my opinion. And then, they played with him a little bit. He was starting one week and he's not starting and like, not like they were like anyone else was better. And so I think being
well,
young.
I heard that was because of his actions.
Really?
He was, yeah, that was the reason that he got
I mean,
benched.
I could see it being difficult. I think the biggest thing that I think is difficult for all those players is when you come from the premier programs and you're used to running shit. I mean, not just on the field, but off the field, right? Like they
Yeah.
walk around the city and the city's theirs, and then you get to this NFL team, and it's it's a little bit like when you go from high school to college, right? Where like you were the shit in high school, and then you get to a college program, at least a good one.
Well, that's life. I mean, like
That's true.
You don't necessarily come from like being all that to just another guy in town, but like, I think that's a fairly normal transition in life. I mean, you're blessed enough to be on a team where you instantly become the shit, and then like if you can't handle not being it, then I don't know what to tell you. It's just,
Yeah, it's funny because that's an interesting thing that you brought up because some of the best players are the people who were never that, right? Like your Aaron Rodgers, your Patrick Mahomes, your Tom Brady are the people who like weren't that, and those are your people that usually become the best. Which is funny.
Yeah, that is a cool part about the NFL that I like is like one of the many aspects I like is that it's not it rewards those that grind and put in that work that don't that aren't just sort of like the biggest dude at their high school and dominate their little league that they're in, and like
there's not as much I'm sure there is on some of it, but not as much what do they call nepotism and favoritism, stuff like that in NFL, because like producer, get the fuck off the field because we finna get fired.
Yeah, exactly. But you bring up Mahomes. I kind of want to stay on football for a little bit if that's cool. This might be a hot take, but I don't. I think that Mahomes is like really good. Like he's top 5 quarterback in the league. But I don't think if he's on a different team, like with not as many weapons, I think he's like Deshaun Watson. Like fringe playoffs every year.
I would agree with that up to a point. I wouldn't say weapons. I think if he's just not in that system with.
Yeah. The whole Andy Reid is a beast.
Yeah,
but like just the way that they've drafted over like he has nothing but just freaks on that offense.
Well, if you look at it when they got him, right, when he started, there was no guarantee that Travis Kelce was going to be what Travis Kelce has become, right? Tyreek Hill is a 5'7" with his cleats on, speedster, which has played out for them more so because Mahomes can escape. But remember that we've seen that experiment fail over and over and over and over again. Matter of fact, Hill's been saying all year, right? His kind of thing is like, am I a number one yet? Because everyone said he's never going to be a number one receiver. Because we've seen that fail with the Tavon Austins and the Dre Archer from Akron, like all these speakers. And then when they originally got Sammy Watkins, he was coming off injuries in like a failed season too. So he had like some things in the rough, and I think he's really brought it out of him versus everything's vice versa, right? But like almost versus them helping him more.
Yeah.
Their defense is still atrocious, but yeah, I think it's Andy Reid, man. I think he's super underrated. And I
Yeah.
do agree that if a Deshaun Watson went to a place like that or to San Francisco, he'd be
Hmm.
he'd be doing the same stuff right now. But he's
Yeah.
in that situation.
Yeah. And it's not like, oh, if he wasn't on the Chiefs, he'd be trash. It's just like
But
he
that matters. You know that
yeah.
matters, right?
Oh
Your
yeah.
system, the pieces around you, the system that you're in, the as with anything, right? Like
Yeah.
the control you feel you have. Dude, they said the first 2 years, um, he couldn't really like read defenses. He was shredding folks.
In the
And
NFL, you mean?
yeah,
What?
yeah,
I mean, yeah, that makes sense. That's kind of like when I watch him play, I'm a very like analytical type dude. Like I I understand the game pretty well.
mhm,
So I look for subtle things like that, like like pre snap reads and then post snap reads, and like can you anticipate throws and things like that, and throw people open. Um,
right,
and he does a lot of that now, but he's sort of settling into the system and like maturing and stuff. And he's definitely gotten better as a quarterback. But when he first started 2 years ago or whatever, like it was mostly just his dudes are fast as heck, and he can just throw 400 yards and like it doesn't even matter. Like he it'd be a lot of like misdirection, like a fake reverse this way, and then a fake handoff that way, and then I'm gonna look up, and the dude's gonna be on an out route, and I can just zing it in there. Like
right.
it was simple, like reads and stuff. And he even still, I don't think he's that great. Like he's not like Aaron Rodgers or um, Tom Brady's kind of like fallen off on that with me a little bit. Like I think Tom Brady at his peak in New England was like the goat of, because he doesn't have a great arm, so
Yeah,
it was all just mentals. Like he had to understand the defense and like understand even the individual matchups on each individual play, and what how the defense was going to match up against his dudes, and like he knew I'm hitting Edelman on this one, or I'm looking Edelman's way, you know what I mean, that sort of thing, or Gronk or whatever. And so um, those little subtle things, I don't see that from Mahomes. It's more just there's a lot of like window dressing just because of Andy Reid and how great he is as a and he's got like Mecole Hardman. That dude is
nice.
really
He's
like Tyreek Hill Jr. And so they got two dudes that are 99 speed going this way and that way, and they've got Kelsey, who's basically like their big receiver. Like
right.
he blocks kind of, but that's
Yeah, I
mostly
think he
receiving.
finished second in receiving this year
Yeah,
as a tight end, which is ridiculous.
yeah,
Yeah, I think it's funny. I think you're right that he doesn't do those things. I think it was a strength for him though. I think that's why he was so successful the first year. I know that may sound strange, but because
for Mahomes, you mean?
yeah, for Mahomes,
Yeah,
football, especially at that level, is literally a chess game, right? And so we've seen it, like you said, some of Brady and some of these other guys who literally that's what they do, right? The defense come out, they read it, they move, and then sometimes the defense moves back and they move again, and
yeah,
well, in college even so much because I think college they just realize, hey, let's just go get athletes. They've made it dumb simple. A lot of colleges, even the best ones, don't disguise what they're doing. It's like this is
yeah,
what we're in. Your Joes better beat my Joes.
yeah.
And so I think in the NFL, like I said, he wasn't quite picking up on that, but it would help him because he didn't know where like necessarily pressure was coming from, or they would try to show something, and because he doesn't really pick it up, you're like trying to show something, know that maybe he's going to go over here and we're going to jump it. He's not registering
And
that at all.
I have a theory about what you just mentioned is like those top five schools. you notice most of them don't produce that great of quarterbacks.
Yeah.
And I think the reason for that is they are just straight up better. So like they can get away with a quarterback that isn't as like mentally sharp because they're able to, like they can just run their power O and get 4 yards every play because they're bigger than the teams that they're playing against.
Right.
And so I think that cripples the quarterbacks that are in those sort of systems. Like you notice, like Ohio State hasn't had a good quarterback since I don't even know ever really. Alabama, Tua might be something, but that's about it. Jalen Hurts,
Ryan Mallett. Ryan Mallett was there for a minute, but I think he went to Arkansas like backup.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, but that's what and then Trevor Lawrence, who knows? Deshaun Watson came out of Clemson, but so he's probably their number one quarterback.
Yeah,
but like
for sure.
The vast majority of the quarterbacks that come out of those big schools are ass.
Yep.
And I think, and that's my theory is that they aren't pushed and challenged as quarterbacks to like because they can do one read and throw the ball and the dude's open because like 90% of the teams they play, their dude is just faster, stronger, bigger. So you can get open and like, so you don't have to really like push yourself as a quarterback to get better. And so that I mean, like, that's why I get so annoyed with people that hop on like Justin Fields' dick because it's like, bro, I watched the man play like he
got way better as a thrower this year, but he really didn't impress me as a quarterback.
Let me like say that he's an NFL quarterback for sure, but he's a bottom tier NFL quarterback.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I would expect him to again have similar careers as every other Ohio State quarterback who'll be in the league for a minute.
Yep.
Like 2 years maybe on the backup thing. He'll get his chance. That'll fizzle out.
And then he'll come back to Columbus and partner up with a fucking law firm or some shit.
Exactly. Dude, that's fucking funny. Yeah, dude, that's funny that you said that. And I think it's because it's where it's funny because they get the top quarterbacks though, right? And
yeah,
like you said, I think it's the same thing, right? It's either they're at these big high schools where like our high school, our guys are just like basically anytime you're a top quarterback, a lot of times you come from a place that basically recruits in high school, right? Where we just got the big guys, like you got all day to throw, or like and this is kind of Ohio State's way that they usually go, at least with Urban Meyer. We're just gonna find the dude who is faster than everybody in high school, it is a skill, don't get me wrong, but it's much easier to do. Like, I mean, running past kids in high school ain't that hard.
Yeah.
Like if you're fat, because kids are just like in so many different stages in high school. Like if you just really got the wheels on you, like Lamar Jackson. And I love Lamar. Realistically, probably. I mean, he barely made it, right? I mean, Louisville was not like a powerhouse when they recruited. He wasn't. School was falling all over him, but like, he wouldn't have been maybe D2, D3, maybe, but like the fact that he just like was super fast on his 40, but I mean, he was just running past everybody in college.
Yeah. And still is in the league.
Right. Which is saving him because I think it's nice he's using that asset to buy himself time to learn how to become a better quarterback that's going to add longevity to his career.
I think he is a unique, like growing up, Mike Vick was my dude. Like, for the listeners, like I played quarterback, I was left-handed, like the only thing I was missing was my skin color. Like that dude was my fucking, like Mike Vick was everything to me.
Mm-hmm.
Even in the backyard and shit, like I was Mike Vick. Like I was trying to play like him.
Right.
And, there was just like, he was like Lamar, except I think Lamar has a higher potential because Vic struggled to throw out of the pocket. And they did a lot of like rolling out and play action and bootleg stuff with him, and that like helped. But he even then, like he struggled with reading defenses and making, going through a progression and throwing the ball accurately. And obviously, like, had a cannon, like homie could throw it like on a rope 50 yards. And Lamar can do that too. But I notice I think, and I feel like I almost feel like last year he did this better, but I don't know if it's like they've had a lot of injuries and stuff with their wideouts, and so I don't know if it's that or if it's him relying on his feet too much. But I just noticed that he's not able to find dudes and throw dudes open from the pocket as much. He still does it. Like, he's got that thing that Mike Vick like didn't have, where he can stand back and read a defense, but it's starting, like, his accuracy is like going away. I mean, there was one, well, there was several throws, but there was one throw in the game last week. Dude ran like a corner route, and he just, like, his form was trash. He like stepped a little bit to the, like, he was throwing it to the right side of the field, and he stepped to like the middle of the field and then just kind of flung it out this way. And the ball went like 10 yards to the left of his dude, to his receiver, and the dude just like picked it off with, like, it was like he was throwing it to the defense. And his dude though was like wide open for the league.
Right.
He wasn't like, college wide open, but like dude was wide open. If he threw it to the side of him, he had like 10 yards to spare. If he threw it like 5 yards to the, and he's got a big enough arm, he just threw it 5 yards to the right of his dude over the shoulder. Like, it's an easy catch for like 30, 40 yards.
Right.
And he just threw it, like, his form was trash. He just kind of like flung it out there, hoping his dude would get it. And it's like, what are you doing? Like, I guess that's what's frustrating, is like he has all the tools, and I feel like he knows what to do, like the technique and all that, to make it hot, but he just like doesn't. Too often he like slides on it and slips and lets stuff go out of left field, and it's just, and he's been turning it over more.
Yeah, he has a lot of turnovers this year for sure.
But yeah, so that's my.
That's funny. Love it. I love it.
I want to talk about do you how interested are you in betting? Like, do you ever look at the spreads of games or anything like that? Do you care at all about betting?
I don't really. I haven't got into it mainly because I usually only bet on things I can control, which usually is me. But I'm interested to talk about it.
Yeah, well, so I'm not sure if I would do it or not. I think I would maybe get to a point where I had enough, like, if I had enough money laying around that I didn't have in like investments and stocks, that, I felt like slinging a G around every now and then.
Mm-hmm.
I probably could, but I just noticed that, like, I'll see some spreads for NFL games, and I'm like, there's no way they're covering that, or like they're gonna blow this team out, or what. It's just like, I feel like it would be an easy like $1,000, and I just haven't done it. It's not legal yet, so like we're not in Ohio. You're not able to bet spreads. You're only allowed to bet. Like, you can make bets based on the players and like how their performance and things like that.
Gotcha.
Like DraftKings is like a big thing in Ohio, and like a lot of the Midwest, and any place that you can't do the spreads.
Right.
But like, I think in Florida you can do Florida, Vegas.
Yeah, they pretty much anywhere out west.
Yeah. So, but yeah, like, if I was living there, which I'm thinking about moving here in the next year or two, somewhere south, getting the heck out of here. But yeah, that's something that I've thought about, is like you know, I got like a couple thousand laying around. I could just, if I could bet on these games, I would.
Dude, I wonder how much of I've never really studied it too much. I know there's some of it there, but I wonder how much of that. I know like that whole thing, betting arena, if you want to call it,
Yeah.
is a machine. And it's a machine because if you go look at their numbers, and I've done so that like they always win, right? And I think
Yeah.
like you're saying, like sometimes some of the spreads, I wonder if some of that is to entice new people and keep people coming back, right? Because the thing only works, right? If I can kind of like the slot machine, right? If I can kind
Yeah.
of do a low risk thing, or it's like, come on, man. And
Yeah.
then you turn around, you're like, that was
Oh
all
yeah.
right.
Yeah, I think there definitely is a psychology behind it, and it's not like random or anything like I wouldn't say. Um, but like I'm aware enough and smart enough to.
Oh yeah, I think a disciplined individual. I know disciplined
No,
individuals.
I didn't think you were talking about me specifically, but I'm just my personal opinion is like, okay, like I'm gonna still win.
All right.
Try.
Okay. Yeah, no, I and the disciplined people that I know that do it, and just kind of do it for fun or whatever, are very much, which is basic information for any investing. But it's like, yeah, you
Yeah,
just bet what you're willing to lose, right? So they write it
yeah,
off. Like it's like in their head, it's like even if it's 10 grand, this 10 grand, I like couldn't care less about it. Like I
yeah,
basically am throwing it in the trash anyway. I don't care. And
yeah,
if something comes out of it, cool, it's fun. Um, but yeah.
yeah. I would not be like that. I ain't throwing no 10 grand away.
But
No.
that's essentially what you're doing right in your head. It's
Yeah,
for the what I've understand and what they've told me is like it's for the, like you said, betting is a very people don't understand, meticulous, curated, like you said, it's like psychological thing here. And to
yeah.
keep from being roped into that, that's kind of the mindset you have to have, or you kind of get like you can get attached to like what is,
Yes, yeah,
and like let me go try to run and get it back, like, and
yeah.
that's what
Well,
people
it's the
do.
same. It's the same with like stocks. Like I invest. So right now, I invested in GameStop. Like I put damn near all my money into GameStop.
Wow.
It's doubled in more than doubled in the last like 2 months, month and a half, something like that. So, and like,
Why are they growing like that?
so, this dude, Ryan Cohen, and I want to have my buddy Josh. He's the one that's sort of like, he's my researcher that kind of, he does all this stuff, and he's put even like, he's put even, he's put a bunch of shit on GameStop, and so he's sitting pretty right now.
Uh-huh.
But so all of this I got from Josh and a couple articles I've read. But so basically, GameStop was a company that looked like it was going to go bankrupt,
Yeah.
and so stocks were way down. It was like $4 back in June or something like that.
No way.
$4 a share. It kind of creeped up to about 10 in like September, October-ish.
Mhm.
And then crept up to about 14ish in like October, November, and
Mhm.
then end of October, and then into November. And this, I think in December, this dude Ryan Cohen, who created Chewy.com, the like pet thing, pet website store thing. You know what I'm talking about?
Yep.
He founded that, but he's also like really into gaming apparently. Young dude, entrepreneur, like I think he's mid 30s, early 30s, something like that.
Okay.
Um, Chewy is like huge. Like they've like carved out of Amazon, the like part of Amazon that used to do like pet stuff. They basically taken all of that
Wow.
space. Whereas like Amazon used to be like, you could go to Amazon to get your pet stuff. Like everybody goes to Chewy now.
Gotcha.
Um, and so he's kind of got a similar idea planned for GameStop, this dude Ryan Cohen. So in December bought like 500,000 shares of, which is like 10% of GameStop. So I think he is like a majority owner, I think, at this point. And at that time, he was sort of like vying for the opportunity to be CEO, like he wanted to take over.
Right.
And I think there was a meeting, like I think it was Monday of this week, where they like meet, and I don't. My dude told me about what it was. I forget what it's called, but some like stock market meeting situation.
Like board shareholders meeting or something?
Yeah. That's what it was. And so it's like a convention where like people present all these different like ideas and things. And so GameStop was set to be in the like retail category. And Ryan Cohen, after he bought the shares, and then like a few weeks later, he bought like even more. And so I think he has like 15% of the company now.
Mm-hmm.
Then he bought, so then he like got in and is now set. I forget if they officially named him CEO or he's like set to become CEO.
Right.
Now he's going, so it was going to be a retail, they were in the retail category. He stepped in like December and switched it to the technology category of this meeting. And so he presented was basically a plan to roll out GameStop as like the online video game store, and sort of carve out that part of Amazon and whatever else, and build on what Amazon has online, but create a sort of the way he carved out the stuff with Chewy, he's going to carve out video games with GameStop. And so that's sort of why they pivoted to technology. And he's also like, apparently he has described plans of having GameStop be like a separate app within your, you can download the GameStop app, and since everything's digital now, you can like pay a subscription to GameStop online, and it'll have every game on there, and you can just go to the GameStop app and be like, oh, I want to rent this game, and you can just download it straight from there onto your Xbox or PlayStation, and keep it for as long as you want. When you're done with it, you can send it back or whatever, and you just pay a subscription fee, and you can download it. Kind of like there was a Netflix kind of did it. Yep. There was another Gamefly used to do that, where like you would get a disc in the mail, whereas now everything's digital, so it'll just be online. And so that's sort of that's sort of the idea, is like it'll be the digital Gamefly on your video games, and so you'll be able to do shit like that. Shit is kind of crazy. Like it seems like it all makes sense, and like I don't see how it couldn't work out. Obviously there's going to be hiccups and things along the way, but all of that was happening behind the scenes, and that's what took it from, like, I bought in kind of high. I was at like, it was like a little over 18. Most people bought like my buddy bought in, and Josh at a little bit lower, probably like, I don't know, 13 to 15, something like that. And so like now it's at 40 something. Wow. Or high 30s, low 40s, something like that. And it's another thing is it's expected to squeeze, which is, for, I don't know if you know, or for the listeners, so like the way stocks work, and again, like I want to have my dude Josh on here because he studied this for like years before he even got into it. I'm a novice. I don't know what the hell I'm talking about. This is just like the little bit I pieced together I've studied it for about like a year, but this isn't even like I'm not really that passionate about it. I'm more into, this is like, I'm gonna put my money somewhere so it grows until I'm ready to buy the next piece of real estate.
Right.
That's sort of my plan with it. Um, anyway, so he's really into it, and he's very smart, and like he's peep game. So a squeeze is essentially where, like, the way a stock market works is like there's obviously individuals buy shares and it's so supply and demand. So if there's a huge demand, then like supply is going to go down because people are buying it up.
Mm-hmm.
But then there's also like people on the other end of the stock market that bet on, or not, I guess bet's a loose term, but they bet on it going down.
Right.
So a lot of people were like, the reason it's going to squeeze, they say, and it may not, but it's very likely it'll squeeze, is because so many people were betting that it would go bankrupt. And so it was at $4 like 6 months ago. People thought it was going to go away. And now it's sort of like turning around and looks like it's going to become something like legit to mess with. And so essentially there's more shares than actual stock of the company. So essentially and Josh is probably going to watch this and be like, you're a fucking idiot, Owen, what the hell are you talking about? But I'm trying my best. So there's more shares than there are stock of the company. And so essentially what that means is there's more of it than what actually exists.
Mm-hmm.
And so, which is basically the dollar right now. And so now that it's like shooting way up, the people that bet against it are now, as it goes up, they basically, in order to make money and in order for them to make money, they have to buy more of it because they already hedged their bets that it would go bankrupt. And so the way that it's set is like, it's like a perfect storm of like, there's this, and this has never happened before apparently, where there's more, a company was going to go bankrupt, but then people started buying it up and betting that it would go bankrupt, and then the people started buying it. So now that there's more people that own shares than are actual shares of the company, and so it's just like, so essentially what's going to happen now is it's already started. Like it was at 14 maybe like 2 months ago, and now it's up to 38 or something like that.
Crazy.
There's other examples of this, but none that have this the situation where there's more more shares than there are of the actual stock of the company. And so people are speculating that it could go to $500, or it could go to like 100 or 75 or something like that.
Wow.
And so, like, it could be done right now. Like maybe it's capped at 40. I don't know. But it's all sort of a guessing game. But there's certain trends and things that you can see that indicate that it's going to shoot up. And like, as this dude Brian Cohen continues to like work with it, it's only going to increase the value more. And so it's I don't know what the hell I'm talking about. I just pulled most of that out of my ass, but I hope it made some sense.
Oh, I know I'm tracking. Yeah, I think, dude, that there's an amazing opportunity right now. I mean, we're not buddies, but we know each other well. A guy I know and a couple of his partners have been buying up all these old businesses like GameStop that were in this retail space because at one point that was booming. So everyone wanted to have a retail business. They bought
Yep.
Radio Shack, Pier 1, all these things. And they're just taking them straight e-commerce. They're just
Really?
yeah, like I am. And they're hand and fist. I think on Pier 1, for instance, they I think maybe like outdid their quarterly performance. Like their first quarter they had it and they got the new site, made it e-commerce and all that stuff by like 100%. And there's
3% or 30%?
200.
Oh, 200. You
Yeah,
cut out for a second. 200%.
like right. Like I'm like, holy crap. But it's
Yeah.
because there's these dinosaurs, right, that own these companies and they don't know not that there isn't obviously knowledge and experience and things, but like they don't know how to adapt to the times and the ages. And so
Yeah.
and retail is a liability, man. And like
Yeah.
unless you just own the land and you can give up that spot, but they've got these liabilities, nobody's going in anymore. And so
Well, it's just at this point it's unnecessary overhead.
Exactly.
That's
what I mean.
reality.
Like you just have so much going out and it's not being utilized the same. And then
Well, that's what that's kind of what I mean is like it does nothing for you.
Mm-hmm.
Having brick and mortar, unless you, like you said, unless you own the land, like that's an unnecessary fee that you could cut out just with a website that costs you like $10 a month to like keep up or whatever, instead of 5,000.
Yeah.
Or in, like some places like New York and shit, 100,000 or something. Like, I don't know how high it goes, but like,
yeah. Well, and then remember you got to fill them, right? And that means employees, and then that's employee benefits, and then like there's so much that just like that brings with it. And so if you can close that division, but there's this opportunity, like I said, from our generation, millennials, and where we're like those people are on their way out, just in general in life, and they're kind of even business wise, and so we can kind of and implement these things. And I actually was just working with a client. One of the easiest ways you guys can take any business, and you guys can all do this. I know we're talking about big things like GameStop, which you could still do, by the way. You don't have to go buy it outright yourself. Go raise a bunch of money and convince people that you know what the fuck you're doing. Because that's what my guys are doing, right? I know they're doing it, but yeah, like you go put in right now any subscription model, and that alone is going to take you far and in between, right? Because like I said, you're getting a lot of your hard cost, and people love subscriptions right now. The younger generation has pretty much grown up on them, so they don't really even know anything other than they prefer it, and and it's security for the business.
Yes, that's a huge. It's like, and 9 times out of 10, it's cheaper.
Well,
like you're getting more value. It's just like spread out over.
So that's that it's kind of true and kind of not, right? And like I said, I do this with a lot of my clients. One of the first things we go do, it can appear cheaper, and it is maybe as an upfront cost to the end user, which is true, right? And it's all that we're seeing that people, especially the younger generations, care about now is like, hey, I don't want to have to go give you $2,000, but if you'll take $20 from me and I can get the same thing, sure, why not? I mean,
well, they do that with phones now, like at Verizon or whatever.
Even an Xbox, right? I think Xbox and Microsoft, it's like payment plan, like $39.99. Like everything is doing that right now because, like I said, you got the security of it, and we've found that doing stuff like that, you can oftentimes, pretty much any business can almost take sales and increase it to, when you're not doing that, 80% in revenue, and then the lifetime of them is usually higher, right? So whereas you may have spent a chunk on GameStop or something before, now you're going, it's like, because I've got this recurring revenue, and they buy add-ons and things that each customer actually usually spends more. Part of it is the psychology of not realizing that I'm making I'm making all these smaller purchases. limit up. But then, like I said, the lifetime, instead of like, okay, maybe Owen, you really only care about these games, so maybe you go and buy Madden when it drops and 2K when it drops, maybe Call of Duty. All right, that's 100 and or $200 you may spend at GameStop this year with us. Maybe you buy a controller or the new console. We may get you for 500. Well,
Yeah.
now your subscription's $40 a month. I already made the 500 just if you stay the year.
Yeah.
Right. And you buy anything else, and now I'm like, so it's just like way. And as a company, instead of me having, because they used to have to do these really big projections and try to make buying decisions and things based off of sales projections. Well, now I can look at it and I can say, hey, next month we already know we got $250,000 coming in if we do nothing, and that's a whole different ball game that provides security there. Yeah,
for sure. That's definitely the wave. Like that is the future, really. And I say I used it brings more value on purpose because it's not it's a new game. And so there's certain things that I see that I'm like, for example, like just because I was thinking of, I don't know why, that I bought Manscaped like years ago, probably 2 years ago, and like when you just like automatically get set up on the subscription plan, and they send you for like $15 a month, they send you a new razor every 3 months, and I'm like, I still got the same razor on it from when I did 2 years ago. What the hell are we doing? and so like I made that decision, but way back then when I was like, I don't need this. Like, so like that was something that could have been like, I guess basically what I'm saying is it was something that maybe to some people that's like added value, but when you can finesse it so it's like every 6 months or something like that, I'm pretty sure. But like I'm cool with the regular with the same razor. If I'll just buy another one when I feel like my junk is getting ripped up. You know what I mean?
I love it. Yeah, well, and the thing is, there's also a lot of psychology tied to, because we've moved to the digital age. The reason subscription boxes so well is nobody gets physical mail anymore other than bills. And there is a measure of this. There's an enormous, I think women probably still experience this the most. But like when you shop online and you get a physical package, there's like this excitement, there's this anticipation of like,
it's like Christmas.
Yeah, exactly. And it just feels like really bad because you don't get anything from anybody anymore.
Yeah. So, well, that's I got 2 heaters coming from Amazon today. I'm high fever for them joints.
Exactly.
I paused my workout this morning so I could work out in a heated garage later today. That's my Christmas.
Yeah, dude, it's amazing. So, like I said, you add those and like that keeps it going, right, every month as well. So a subscription service like, for instance, Netflix is at higher risk than a subscription box company because every month you're like, oh, cool. And people kind of forget when it's coming too for the subscription box. And it's just like, oh, this stuff, like, whether they use it or not, it's just like, oh, that felt good, right? Which is really crazy. Now, Netflix has exclusivity and the ability of binging, right, that they give you that keep them, even though it's not physical. And the reason people strayed away from this for such a long time was before the way people thought about spending money and that market at that time was, well, that's a liability a little bit because, and it still is somewhat, that every single month that we ding someone's card, they have to remake a buying decision.
Yeah.
Right. Every time I see that, I have to decide again, like, oh, do I want to keep paying for this? And so that's why I was shied away. But like I said, there's so many things you can do to reverse it and make someone say, yeah, I'll still pay for it.
Now, so you were saying in the past that was the concern, but is it changed now that it's all like it's credit cards, so it's just like ding and like?
It's still a concern, right? It's still a concern in reality. But the difference is that I guess you can put it this way, that the reward outweighs the risk. There's also been a lot of, and all these subscription services test it out, there's a lot of bit testing and data around what you can or should charge monthly to limit that, right? Someone who does this really well is Planet Fitness, in like a full space where they have the worst members. They don't help people get fit at all. As a matter of fact,
they have pizza and candy in the joint every fucking
right. And they actually, if you know, like they're not, it's kind of smart. It's kind of sinister too, if you think about it, but it's kind of smart because like, not only do they have all that stuff, they purposely deter people who are actually getting fit, right? There's rules where, the Lunko alarm, like you can't drop a weight. Well, if you ever fucking lifted real weights and you ever get a real workout, at some point during your fucking set, you're going to drop freaking weight, right?
Yeah.
I've seen them kick people up for like having a gallon of water. Like you can't carry a gallon around. Having a crop top or cutoffs. Like they're trying to deter those people and keep a community of people that just want to like halfway, and they keep feeding the, obsession. But it's like, hey, yeah, it's just $9 a month, right? It's like so people can get that. Oh, I'll pay that.
And I guarantee you, the majority of that like group that they're targeting probably doesn't even go in the building more than like once a month.
Well, I would say that's the point. So what they have is any Planet Fitness place because you look at it and you say, well, how do these people make money? Like the equipment's expensive and stuff. But one, they use one store over the other, right? To cover the other one when they're opening. But they've figured out their numbers of like, hey, it may cost us $250 million to equip this thing. But and we'll kind of cover, but on year X, Y, and Z, or with this many, we're in the green, right? And like I said, like you were saying, like every Planet Fitness, like I know even some serious people who are like, oh yeah, I got it because it was so cheap, and they go to other gyms and they say, I still got that thing. Like I can't tell you how many times people just have one, and so there's like pretty much everyone in a city could have a Planet Fitness membership, and like you said, half of 1% go, but it's so inexpensive, and they just sit there and collect.
Well, it's like they don't. It's almost. I mean, for me, that would drive me insane. Like if I had little like things ticking away at my money monthly, I would lose my shit until I fixed them.
Well, here's what happens, right?
I can't believe how many people have like 17 and 20, 30 different things going, subscriptions that like, and they use 5 of them. And I'm like, homie, do you want to be broke?
Well, the thing is, right, is that's what we're saying. Like, so what happens is if it comes up, the potential reward might outweigh the risk because you look at, let's just take Planet Fitness. You say, I never fucking go. I should cancel. And people do that a lot. Well, it's just It's just $9.
Yeah.
I spend more than $9 every day. Like I should probably, and so you just go, I'll leave. I'll go in next week.
Just in case. Yeah.
Right. And you may go in next week and that kind of makes you feel, but it justifies, like, it's that small where you kind of feel like, all right. But like you said, you don't realize that so many people, I read it a while ago. I don't know how many, but like you said, the average is something, like we'll have like, 10, 15 subscriptions that are actually pulling like that. And people will have them for years.
Yeah.
So yeah, to answer the question, like I said, the concerns are the same there. We just have more data on how to, compress that a little bit, and
So there's like it's the same thing with anything else. Like there's a threshold on the price where it's like, enough to be irrelevant or too much to be annoying, and like that people don't see the value in it.
Exactly. So like a lot of like my consulting or my clients, I'm like, I may put someone may have to put me on a retainer for $5K. Well, I know that like that's a big one right there. Like $5K, we're talking about $9, $10. Like $5K, motherfucker's like, all right, am I still paying this dude for it? Right. So you really got to bring the value for sure, because it's serious like that. But like I said, on most consumer products, if you can get something small like that, and then the game just becomes user acquisition and retention, right? They can almost move away from worrying about the product, whatever. It's just about user acquisition and retention. And so Yeah, dude, it's powerful. And then, a lot of companies do other things with that data as well. A lot of companies are information companies. People just don't realize it, right? Like
Yeah.
phone companies, like your phone company's an information company. They're offering a service to get you to pay for it. It's overpriced. They make a profit there. Then they just turn around and sell all your data to a bunch of other
Yeah.
companies. That's where they really make their money, or just your behaviors in general. But
Yeah.
for the next thing.
How do you feel about that? Is that like selling the data part?
Um, it's smart business wise.
Yeah.
And some people try to make it a little more sinister than it is. When we say sell your data, it doesn't necessarily mean in all cases, and not in majority of cases, that it's Owen Heckman, at 222, whatever lane, and he like it's not as sinister. Usually it's hashes, right? Like it's selling data, but people don't realize that a lot of these companies and things, whether you're on social media or not, have so much information about you that it's not even like a human couldn't even begin to reason it. So the data's sold, but it's sold to give it to an AI, right? An algorithm, right? An automated artificial intelligence that can do things with the data that a human couldn't even begin to like start to map out, and that's what helps them. So I'm kind of fine with it in that sense, because it does help improve our daily lives. And we kind of talked about this before. Like, I don't want to live in a world or have an experience online. Even now, even when like stupid mail, like when I get something that's like current home resident or something, like, bitch, you don't even know my fucking name. Like, don't send me this piece of trash. Like, I don't want to live in a world like open up
Straight to the
and like,
garbage.
yeah, some ad that I don't care about. Like, I want a curated experience. And so I know that means you got to give up data. I
Yeah.
understand the concern, but like, like, what are you gonna do? Like, privacy's always been an issue with and without technology. Like, if it's
Yeah.
not software or some random computer, it was governments or like, all types
Yeah.
of. So
I think at this point, it's like, I don't want to sound like too cynical either, but like the ship has sailed. You know what I mean? Like it is what it is, and maybe if it's something that is deeply concerning to you, like you have plenty of options that will like that you can use to help protect and like
yeah, that's the thing that I think we need to do, right? Is what most people don't realize it. And kind of like we were talking about last time, like people sign up for things, you've entered an agreement with someone. Part of that agreement is to give up your data, to be able to be silenced if necessary, have things removed, like you're entering into an agreement. And I think where we should move and probably fight for the future, like I said, without being sinister, is that people should have the right to know what data companies collected on them,
yeah.
and have the right to ask for it to be removed. And we should create things and make sure that there's things in place that is being done. But nobody, I can tell you, the market, enough share of the market won't take that option to have their data removed, because most
Yeah.
people, like I said, want the curated experience. So cool,
Yeah.
I think that's just what the changes need to be. And like I said, I know Facebook made that change, and it's funny, people pick on Facebook all the time. They're nowhere near the even biggest player. Google probably has 100 times the points of data that Facebook has on you.
Yeah.
It's
I
ridiculous.
mean, and shoot, like I like how Google Maps gets me to the place the fastest.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like I don't want to get there. Like I'm an Android dude. I couldn't afford iPhone back in the day when it was like twice as expensive as Android. Now they're about the same, so it doesn't really matter. But I still ride with Android. Like so, I use Google Maps. My girl's got whatever Apple has,
Mm-hmm.
and the shit fucks up half the time. Like, or it's taking me like the route, and I know Columbus, like especially the north side. Like, I know if that route is not the fastest route, and it'll be sending me all kind of different which ways, and I'm like, well, I'm not going that way.
Yeah, it's funny that even maps is becoming a curated experience.
Yeah.
Um, where actually we'll get in the car. Sometimes we usually go see my parents on Sunday, and on Sundays when we get in the car, it'll pull up automatically and like map to, like we don't obviously use maps to get to my mom's house. We know, but like it'll
Yeah.
suggest like, oh, going to
Yeah.
Ogden
It
Ave,
like,
right? Like
yeah, it
because
knows.
it's like people don't real like that's how same thing when we go to my wife's mom's house. It's like, oh, and we'll like pull it up. But like that's cool things, right? And I think, like I said, it's kind of tracking that behavior, and maybe it takes your girl the long way because usually, whenever she's going, she stops by, Starbucks and then this and that on the way, and
Yeah, 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 yeah.
into consideration. And it's like, well, you could go that way. That's fast way, but this is the way that's going to get you the stuff that you want. So I don't know. Like, so I think there's huge benefits to it. I don't see it as a negative per se. I just think that people should be aware, which it was never like hidden. People just don't read that stuff, right? You know what
Yeah.
I'm saying? It was never like, oh, we're
Yeah.
trying to not tell you. Like I said, before this, it was your phone company. People still, like I said, Facebook, and don't look at their basic fucking phone company and what they collect on
The
stuff.
biggest, one of the biggest jokes that goes around internet every so often is like how the check this box to agree to the terms and service thing. Like, and like everybody just hits the box. Nobody reads that shit.
Right.
It's all like, I mean, like for years, that's just the way it is. I think maybe when that first started being a thing, maybe, I don't know, 10 years ago, 8 years ago, I would like click on it and sort of like peek through it just to see, like what
And
it's
it's
saying.
just lawyer jargon anyway.
Yeah, yeah. And it's like, and it's 40 pages and it like, I don't care.
Right. Take my shit. I don't know.
I don't care. What a, you can
Yeah,
have it.
but isn't that crazy though? That kind of goes back to what we were talking about before, like the reward, like we're able to reason like that with humans, and so I like I said, I know people kind of blame, but it's like
Well, it
the market
also,
decides.
hold up. I think it also speaks to our society. Like this isn't this isn't China.
Right.
This isn't like, it's not like in China people just straight up disappear. Like if you type a fucked up message, you don't even have to send it. You just like, got a note that you're just like, goddamn motherfucker, this goddamn government, you're gone within a week. Whereas, like the fact that, yes, we have things that are like, obviously the society has its flaws and I think it's starting to really crack at the seams, but like overall we can go through our lives and have, these sort of things like, yeah, I don't care about the terms and service isn't a trick that's like, oh, if you say anything bad, we'll kill you.
Right.
No, it's like I'm able to just like move forward and like not care about all of the legal jargon because like there isn't Big Brother above trying to like, just peek and make sure I don't say anything horrible and like tear apart I don't know, make one other person think that the government is bad or something like that. Like that doesn't.
Yeah, and that's how people use it, right? And like I said, I mean, I understand, kind of continue our conversation from last time. I understand that the truth of the matter is that's how most people read it. Like you read it, like you said, right? Where it's like, I'm not trying to, like overthrow the government or anything. I don't care. Use whatever, right?
Yeah.
Um, and because that's been our take, right? There is certain things in all of these where it's like, there's probably a little bit more, right? It has nothing to do with it. It's just like about what they can and can't, it can and will do with your data and how they use it and who they'll share it with and all this stuff. And like I just at the end of the day, we decide, well, but I want to be able to hang out with my friends online and see what they're up to, right?
Yeah.
Um, and so that's why I just thought it was ironic and kind of funny last week when everyone's crying free speech now, and I'm like, this happens every couple of years when you guys want to get riled up about something. But the reality is, you entered into a contract agreement, and within that contract, right? It like because of our amazing country and what we and how other countries' view of America is like, oh yeah, that's where you can sue anybody for anything, because that's basically what it is, right? Like we uphold our legal agreements a lot of the times, and you can get sued for anything. So it's like, yeah, that almost, you kind of forfeited that right? There's like you don't get to decide if that was like free speech or not. Like it's not, you literally basically say, hey, when I post on this platform, it's not mine anymore. I just sold it to you for free.
Yeah.
And so you can do whatever you want with it. And that's why, they can.
And that's the exchange.
Exactly. I would say, but that's the exchange. And it's like, you can go without that. And here's the alternative that people also don't think about. People say, well, that's horrible. We got to fight these guys. We can't let them do it. Okay, cool. They're going to make you pay for Twitter.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
For Facebook. They're going to make you because and this is like the old saying, right? The old saying was like, hey, if you're, I don't know, if you're like, if you don't have a plate at the table or something, you're the meal, something like that. That was like the old saying.
Okay.
Well, same thing now, but the newer one is like, fuck, I forgot the new one. Doesn't matter. But like that, that's the goal, where it's like, in a business and a product, right? If the product is free, you are the product.
Yes.
Like if it's free, you're the product. That's it. Like that's the only way. Like again, these things, somebody has to be paid. Something has to be paid. Like it costs money to run Facebook and stuff. And so if it's free, I want to get you on there, because it's cool and all that stuff. You've got to pay with something, and so you pay with your data. But no one would pay. I love Twitter. It's my favorite app. I'm not gonna fucking pay for it. They make fuck that. Right?
Yeah.
Like I don't care.
I go on Twitter and I'd say I get at least one like real hard laugh a day.
Oh, for sure. Yeah.
At least. Like I cried laughing at Drewski last night doing a impression of a ratchet girl. Like that shit. There was 40 of the females like that at my high school. Like it was just like, God, that's so great. Oh my God, it's so funny. But you know what I mean? It's just like that. It's worth it to me. But once I start, if I had to pay for Twitter, I'm done.
Right.
I'm out.
Yeah, exactly. And so that's my thing. It's like, where's the trade-off? And like I said, I that's how I see it. It's like people like to jump on trains and bitch and moan, but like I said, it's that way for a reason. And it's not to say that it won't forever, because like we've talked about before, that's the great thing about this country, is that the market will decide. If everyone decided, like I said, no, we want our data, we're not signing up for this shit, you would force them to pivot. And maybe they would try to say, hey, we're going to pay for it. And if ultimately everyone says, no, we're not going to fucking pay for it either, right? They pivot again. The issue with that is it takes time, and it takes numbers, and it takes discipline. And people don't, it's very hard. Like we've talked about before, you can get your family members on the same page, let alone thousands of people, to force a market shift like that. Market shift usually have an incremental degrees over a long period of time. And so, it is what it is right now.
Yeah. Well, and I think, I hear a lot of people criticize like you mentioned how money sort of plays a role in this, and everything that you just said was sort of how the business is, like Twitter, they care about making money. And it's like, I think some people are cynical of that, and that's becoming a more common narrative, is like, well, that's just terrible. Like everything shouldn't be centered around money. You should, that shouldn't be the main goal. And like, I don't know. My gut instinct is I don't agree with that. But at the same time, it's like I also see how money isn't everything to me, but I also understand that, like, and I guess I'm sort of getting towards the, like, there's a narrative of how like capitalism is evil, even though we've discussed multiple times how like we don't have a pure capitalist society. If we did, it would be a disaster. But I think there's something in my gut that says it's okay that is the main goal. Like money that's fine. It's and like it's an exchange of value, like we've said. And so like I'm sort of torn on that. Like what do you think about that? Like, is that
Yeah, I think so. Here's how it always works, right? And you can go to any of these platforms, is it's actually not originally about money, right? Facebook wasn't created about money. Twitter wasn't created about money. None of these things are ever created about money. They're created as really cool things for people to enjoy.
Yeah.
But it cost money, right? Like when Zuckerberg's over here coding Facebook over in his dorm room, skipping class and shit, that's cool. And it was cool. And colleges started jumping on, and it costs money. Like someone's got to pay for the servers, for it to not crash, for you to be able to upload all your fucking cat pictures. Like that cost money. And like, okay, where do we go get the money for? So then you have to go ask someone for the money. Okay, well, if I ask you, Owen, can you give me $100,000? I may be able to convince you of that, but you're not just going to be like, oh yeah, man. And just if you need more, you're not going to keep shelling out money. You're going to want a return on that money as well.
Yeah.
Right. And so that's where it comes in. And a lot of times, again, they a lot of these guys were pressured, and they did a great job navigating how to do it, right? One of the big things that made Facebook, if you guys remember, MySpace was out before this. MySpace was the biggest thing, and they struggled with monetization, right? It was really cool.
Yeah.
And so then they opened up, and there was just, remember when it was just ad banners everywhere, and that's what kind of drove people away. They were like, oh, this sucks.
Yeah.
Because it made it not cool anymore. So Facebook really waited, and Zuckerberg for a long time fought for years over the investors and partners, and got in their heads over them like, no, it's not. We're not going to monetize it yet. It has to be cool. If it's cool and everybody's people are there, we'll make money. Like the money will come later. And he did a good job with that. And then the way they introduced ads for the first time was really revolutionary, because they did it in a way that was congruent with the feed. And it still is today, right? Ads, you can tell, but it looks like just content on the platform. And they actually penalize businesses who create ads that don't look native to the platform, because it can drive people away. And that's their most valuable thing.
That seems like, to your average person, that seems like a small thing, but that's actually genius.
Yep.
like you said, it's revolutionary. Because I remember my big bro Adrian.
Mm-hmm.
I remember he had MySpace for a hot second, and I was probably in middle school. I think 7th, 8th grade, and he was a freshman or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember looking at his MySpace and being like, "What the hell is this?"
Mm-hmm. Just banners and all this shit.
Yeah. It was just it was 50 pop-ups were around the screen, and then in the middle there was 10 of his friends or whatever.
Right.
And I was it was probably, honestly, I think it had to be younger than that, because I feel like Facebook came out when we were in middle school.
Yes, it did. So you were
2008-ish.
Yeah, Facebook came out when we were in middle school, because I remember I had to lie about my age to get on at the time.
Yes, same. My mom didn't let me get one until I was oh wow, hilarious. But yeah, so it must have been in middle school, a year or two before that, or honestly, it might have been at the same time, right around that same time when I got Facebook. MySpace still kind of had some legs for 3 minutes, and then Facebook just straight up took over. But yeah, that is I didn't know that that was so intentional by Zuckerberg. And
Yeah,
that's
it was very
genius.
intentional because he realized that's what drove people away, right? And if it's something's not cool, they'll leave. And that, like, MySpace was the biggest thing. MySpace, as big as you think Facebook is now, that's what MySpace was. And it became uncool and quickly, right?
Yeah.
The market abandoned it. And so yeah, it was really revolutionary. And like everyone who says that argument, like, well, it's about money, and say, okay, so cool. So to go into the mind of him though, right? I've built this cool thing. I want to keep it going. I don't, if I start asking you to pay to use it, you're going to think it's not cool. Also, their user base, which is happens with all platforms, it's happening with TikTok right now, but they've grown significantly, is always with the younger demographic. So college students we're on Facebook. Yeah, go try asking some college students to pay for the platform. Like there was no
Not
way.
happening. Yeah.
Right. It wasn't exactly, it wasn't going to happen. And so then it's like, okay, fuck. All right, well, we can start doing ads. We're going to do it in a way that is, not, annoying. And back then, they just started with the sidebar. It didn't even show up in the feed. As they've grown, they've added all these other placements. But okay, cool. Now turn around and I say, that's how I'm going to keep it cool. I'm not going to charge you, Owen, because you're my homie. I want you to have a good experience. But I'm going to go charge this business, dumbass, right? I'm going to get them to pay me, right? Well, cool. Yeah. I can't go to the business is going to say, okay, who's there? Some college students. All right. Well, what if I want to sell this girl's hoodie? Oh, fuck. All right. We need to pull data to make sure that it's like male versus female.
Well, and then you target.
That's what that's what I'm getting to, the information piece. Well, okay, cool. We got girls, but really only girls 20 to 25 buy this. Oh, fuck. All right. So I have to keep my platform going and keep you happy and keep this thing cool, I have to keep collecting your data and have to turn around and sell it to keep the thing going.
And in that whole, so that's created a whole new, what do you call it? A new area of a new market within the economy is social media marketing. And so that business in the early days would just put their shit on there and hope for the best.
Right. Like a newspaper.
But then it eventually, so now you can everything is, like you said, curated is a perfect word. It's all even for the business, it's curated now to say, oh, okay, I want to target this.
Right.
So I will pay for that. And it's a fraction of the cost of what, putting some shit in a newspaper used to be.
Right.
You know what I mean?
It's and everything, and I can't control who sees it.
Exactly. And so now you get that opportunity, and oh, guess what? I'm the shorty that's in college that wants the Call Her Daddy hoodie. Boom, I got it. Right. And I'll see it, and it'll and it's just everybody benefits. Okay, so I guess what I'm trying to do is piece together an argument against the everything's about money thing.
While you're doing other thing to add that I forgot to add that Facebook does different than a lot of companies, they also revolutionize this way, is Facebook actually doesn't sell your data. They rent it. They rent it to advertisers. So
say more about that.
So obviously in a sale, you pay me a number, I give you a thing, you own it. That's not what happens. Facebook realizes the most powerful thing that they have is data. They don't sell it to anyone. They will partner with companies and give you access to their hashed API that they can limit and cut off. They will, like I said, have targeting options, but you have to pay for a specific, in this case, it's not even monthly, it's per campaign you run, and then you're cut off. So they're renting it because they don't want anyone else to have that same power as them.
That is, genius. Genius. Is that similar to what how Netflix, well, I guess they don't even share the data. Right? They don't, people get with Netflix and they don't even tell them how many views they got or anything. I don't think. Is that, do you know anything about that?
Yeah, there's different ways to sell data, right? So Netflix, and this is what everyone sees. If you ever see on the private side, it's we'll never sell your information. What they mean is they're not going to do the lowest form of selling information where they take your email address and literally sell it online. Like that's literally a thing that companies have done for a long time. Literally just say, oh, we got all these users. Here's our email addresses, right? They
Yeah,
don't
yeah.
do that, right? That's kind of like the lowest form now. What they have done is what they sell is, and they took them a long time. They may still be in the hole. They went into the hole to license all of this content from all these platforms to get users there, knowingly that they were going to be in a hole, so that they could collect data on the users, what they're watching, watch time, like all that
Yeah.
information. And then they turn around and sell that, not necessarily like your email address, but like the statistics and data of like, so I can go to any movie company and say, hey, create more of this. Our users that are between this age and this age watch this much content. They watch it for this long. These are the highest rated episodes. Well, again, if I'm making a movie or something, that's really important data to me, and it's really valuable, especially, in movies where I may have to put 150 million into it. I want to make sure it's a hit. So let me go buy that data that you have so I can make sure that this is a hit.
Got it. So, so I think the simplest argument is just like anytime that a new market or a new field is created, like in order to sustain it, it requires money.
Right.
So to think in a way that like money is evil to begin with, or capitalism is evil. Money is amoral. Money is not good or bad. It just is a thing that is a tool. So that takes care of that. And then pushing that even further, then we have, so like we live in this society that leans capitalist, and that's great. And it allows for the creation of these sort of entities and the, like all of this that we're discussing. So in order to keep those things running, it requires some degree of money, and that's okay. So
yeah, I mean, and we've done an oversimplification some. I think where people start to get that argument from is specifically when companies go IPO, right? So IPO for everyone is basically when I go private. If me and Owen start a company right now, we're the only shareholders, meaning that at the end of the day, we get to decide what the hell we want to do. And maybe if we raise money from family or friends or a couple private, like those people as well, and we can even raise money in a way that says, hey, you're not a shareholder, you're just giving money because you know us. But you can't keep something very big going that long that way. Eventually, at some point, you go IPO, which is a really cool thing because you get to say, hey, we want to grow and continue to do this. We're going to let the market, the public, you guys decide how things work around here. You give us your money, and we'll, if I can open it up to everybody, right? That's more funds and things that we can do things with. So that's why companies go public. But with that comes the fact that no company does an IPO and loses the overall control of their company. That would be stupid. But basically, now I have all these little mini bosses though, right? So like you were saying, you bought share in GameStop. Well, technically, you're now a boss at GameStop, right?
Yeah.
Now you don't necessarily own enough shares where you may literally have a physical seat at the table, but if I've now done that, same thing as we said before, I can't go to Owen and say, hey, give me this money, and then throw your money in the trash and just keep asking you for money and money and money and money and money. You're going to want to see some return on that. And so then I have all this pressure of, instead of maybe one bosses and me trying to smooth it over with Owen, maybe I have 1 million bosses who are being like, excuse me, I put my $50 into this and I want 150 back. And so you have to start making decisions. You don't have just one person down your neck. You have millions down your neck who, if you don't,
they'll sell.
Well, yeah, I would say, and like we were talking about earlier, it's not just about sell. Like that means they will end your company. They're now in control of your company. So you have to make decisions sometimes, like you said, that cause people to like, and that's what happens is you start, they say they just make these decisions to please the shareholders. So it just becomes how can we drive costs down? What can we do to make more money? Because every year, every quarter, Facebook, GameStop, whoever you're invested in, every quarter, I want to see that my investment went up, or I'm going to take my money out.
And I like that you brought up the drive prices down and bring or drive costs down and bring revenue up. Like I think that motivation is what has led so much of our manufacturing to go out of the country. And it's now put us in a position where everything that we need and like that we want to make is even like cars and things that, you know, as lucrative as that, the interests that are, you know, at hand, like, you know, with all the big you know, automobile companies are publicly traded.
Yep.
So as I think, as far as I know, I'm pretty sure. So that automatically like incentivizes to all of the millions of shareholders to make, in order to keep them happy, you're incentivized to, oh, I want to pay these people out in whatever, Africa or South America or China or whatever, you know, 10 cents a day. And that saves me all this money that then goes into the shareholders and in my pocket.
Right.
And then everybody's happy. And so now we're at a point where, like, you know, I think about this a lot, and it's like, you know, at what point is saving, let's say like $10 a month, maybe even, you know, more, let's say $50 a month, just so that all my shit is made in another country. Like, is that, at what cost is that? Like, should I care about that, or is that, are you good?
Yeah, no.
Here's some water.
Thank you. So my take on it may be different than everyone's, but I'll explain it.
Yeah, please go.
Very important. It's the most important thing. I don't think that's a bad thing at all. And here's why.
The producing things outside of the country, you don't think that's a bad thing?
Yeah, that decision, right? As a business owner, where I can say, hey, it'll cost me $50 to make this thing here, and maybe we'll make $5 profit, or I can make it for $2 over here and make $30 profit, whatever, right? If we go out.
Make $48 profit, yeah.
Right, yeah, I think that's an amazing thing. And
and real quick, let me just butt in. I do see a lot of studies that show that moving of manufacturing to other countries is accelerating other countries' ability to like come out of poverty.
Right, exactly. So like I said, one, I get to go over here and I can help, like I said, but that was part of what I was about to say. That's why it's actually really good, because what it actually means is that, hey, the people here have such high quality of life, right? There's a reason it's cheaper over here. Like you said, I don't live in China. There's no one here working in a sweatshop for 18 hours as a kid, getting paid a couple dollars a day at the end of the day and sleeping in the factory. Right? Yeah. There's no nets around our buildings because our workers go to the top and try to jump off like it is in China and commit suicide. Like, so because I have to pay our government, I have to pay you a fair wage. I can't work you to death. Like, you know, there's certain things. So that's a good thing here. You wouldn't want that companies to be like, oh yeah, we just get away with anything here.
Yeah.
But what we need to start doing, and I think obviously the people need to come up and demand it, because that's the only thing get done. But I think business owners, and I employ my entrepreneur people, right? If that was one thing to take consideration and to create new things to replace what they're sending out. And we kind of talked about that before. Like, that's the main issue. It's not the practice of this, because the practice of this is good for the company and for you. Yeah. If they could make it here for $2 and pay you not shit, they would. But you wouldn't accept that, right? You wouldn't, like, we're already having issues with the minimum wage and, people like livable wages and all those things. And so
Yeah.
imagine if
And it's
like,
all a delicate balance. Like I think there is probably some um, you know, validity to that
so this
livable
is
wage.
the way the balance comes back. And this is what Trump did. And I think it's a bad thing to do. You go and you say, hey, come bring back and we'll cut these taxes. Well, now we're just robbing Peter to pay Paul. Like I said, I think there should be an
Yeah.
effort and even from maybe the government to say, hey, you sent things over there and that's great for you. And Apple, we're happy because we get the iPhone at this cost instead of $20,000 like a car, right?
Yeah.
So we're happy about that. It drives forward innovation and the whole market. So I love that. But because you did that now, you need to come back here. You need to create something new for these people to do, whether that's educate. Like I said, I don't care that we're going to robotics and it's replacing the manual labor. Cool. You sent that over
Good.
there. You're doing robotics. Now replace it. Come spend money back here so we can keep this thing going. Not, hey, let me give you a tax break of X million dollars so you bring a factory back here and temporarily create some jobs for people just for this to happen again in a few years. Because that's
Yeah.
not solving the issue. We're not bringing everyone up from the bottom.
Yeah.
And then if we all had that position, right? Cool. I can send my factory over here and I can create something new on how to like whatever. And so people still have work. I'm educating them on something new, right? Paying them to learn a new skill or trade that can keep those wages going so people just aren't out of jobs. I think that's what needs to be done, right? That's the solution. But like
Yeah.
everything I think when it comes to politics, everyone, they're always trying to get you to focus on the wrong thing. Look, they're sending our jobs. The Chinese are stealing our jobs. The Mexicans are still.
Yeah.
No. These are great things. Like you said, we're helping them out. And
maybe even be more targeted about, like, maybe we don't want to outsource our labor to places like China that treat people like shit.
right.
Maybe I want to outsource it to a place that maybe treats people with more dignity and maybe that's hard to come by, but like,
Which it
I know a
is
lot in Africa. There's Africa is set to blow in like the next, not in a good way, blow, like, by like 2050, like that might be the new, center of the universe for all, as far, I mean, like that things are, progressing really well, but they're still dealing with tribal warfare and still dealing with, and I've got a friend who I um, I want to set up lunch with him, but I don't remember. He was born. He was adopted and came to America when he was, I think, 12, 10, something like that. I don't remember where in Africa he grew up, and it's gonna piss me off. I don't think it was West Africa, but it may have been. It doesn't matter. Somewhere in Africa. And he said that he tweeted the other day that he never thought that tribalism would make its way to America the way that he experienced it in Africa. And that kind of hit me like, holy shit. And that sort of led, like, I've talked to him a little bit. He's Aaron's little brother.
Yep.
You know who I'm talking about, Joe.
Yep.
Amazing, like, smart dude. Like, so he would be someone I'd love to have on the podcast. Sure. He's on the list for sure. But yeah, so I want to pick his brain about that. But it's my overall point is just to say that though there are like signs that Africa is like shooting way up, they're still dealing with tribal wars and civil wars and like, there's a lot of instability over there, and that's difficult when you're trying to build up a country, or trying to build up anything. You need some form of stability, and so like
Yep.
I think that it's, it's thousands of miles away, so I don't know what the hell's going on over there, but it seems like there's a trend towards stabilization, and it's just sort of like, you got to, like kind of like with America, like there's going to be a there's a lot of little wars that culminate with like a big war, and then after that you kind of set your stage, and like you control it, and hopefully the good wins, and like you're able to, you know build into something really unique and special, kind of with the way that America did a little bit. And I hope that happens there. It's just, there's just a lot of, in addition to like the Europeans that went through and just like divvied it up for themselves, there's, that all that just sort of increased the tribalism, because then it, divided tribes that were, spent probably thousands of years being a tribe. It's divided them up into, Ghana and Liberia or whatever. You know what I mean? It's just like,
Yeah, and I that's interesting. Yeah, I agree. It's funny that it's not funny, but it is interesting that as horrible of the things that Europeans did, other people were complicit, right? Like you said,
yeah,
the lack of unity in that area at that time, the destabilization, caused, like you said, the fact that they were, there was a lot of like, cool. It was like, let me save my ass temporarily, and hey, we'll go get them instead. Y'all take
yeah,
this, you know.
yeah,
Um,
yep,
so I think they're still recovering and paying, for that, and the distrust that comes with that for generations, and the dislike and all those things, for
for
sure.
sure. Yeah. So, but yeah, I mean, like overall, I hope that happens for Africa. Like that would be dope. Because I mean, Africa's the biggest continent in the world. Like for that area to really glow up would be great for. And I mean, like I say it like it's already happening. I mean, like
Their cities, some of their major cities, yeah.
yeah, but even like, there's so many stats like birth rates. The survival rate of in Africa is like, it used to be, I think in 2010 or something like that, 2005, it was something like in Europe in 1850 or 1860 or something like that. Now it's like the same as it was in Europe. The survival rate, the birth rate in Africa is the same as Europe in like 2000 or something like that. I mean, it's just like,
Which is, no one wants to admit it, but it's from efforts like people like Bill Gates, where I know everyone wants to say he says
yeah,
and stuff, but like where there's an on purpose. But I get the downside, guys. I really like, everyone always. It's easy to just footnote the bad, right? I get that
yeah.
there's always risk of vaccines. I get
Well, and just in general, sorry to interrupt, but just in general, like human nature is more sensitive to negative information, period.
right.
So like it's easy to focus on that, but like there's also some things that are positive that you can really point out that say a lot. So sorry, go ahead.
No, you're so right. And like my point about too is that some of these things now, one, well, there's prominent people doing it, but then things can be televised, right? News spreads. This same thing, for instance, that someone would say, hey, look, he, said he was gonna, which they, they basically like cured polio or something over there, which is amazing,
Yeah,
right? But like, yes, of course there was defects, and there was people who died and stuff from the vaccines, and I'm not trying to minimize that, but that's a process that happened naturally on this planet for years. It just wasn't televised. There was not someone necessarily prominent that was happening, and it usually happens through what we consider as natural selection,
yeah,
because there wasn't innovation. Like, I think if you look at, for instance, like the Black Death, that like came and wiped folks out, like took them
yeah,
out. And we didn't have the tools and innovations to even figure out what it was or how to fix it. It just
yeah.
ran its course, wiped folks out, and the people who
And
were
there
left
was
over,
another.
right, kind of like adapted to it. But like we didn't get to see all the babies that had birth defects and didn't, didn't make it. A lot of it wasn't being tracked, and stuff like that. So I think, like I said, as great as that is, everyone just wants to point fingers at, and there's more than Bill Gates, but like that are doing efforts like that to help bring everyone on this planet up. And there's going to be things that happen.
And then Corona came through and wiped out all the fat people, as it should.
You can get yourself in trouble.
Natural selection. I think first episode I really did myself in. I think I'm good from this point forward.
Yeah, and I know that's some people's argument, right, with this Corona stuff too. Now, just let us get to natural selection. Just let it. Well,
I'm kidding. That's a
no. I know you are.
I know, but for the viewers, I want to make sure that everyone knows I'm not serious.
The issue with that is it's highly dangerous and highly unpredictable, and now it's irresponsible because we have the tools and things means necessary to combat and fight it. So to just say it would be basically be the equivalent of like way back when it's like, man, tigers, every time we send Billy and his friends out, like the tiger, we find shreds of them. Like
a tiger snatches up one of his homies, and that's
just being like, oh,
natural selection.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. Like, well, no, now you got spears, and like, yeah, that would be like, that's irresponsible to do that. It's not how the world works, and so it's like we have to do these things because it's whether people believe it or not. If every person, every area, in every country, and every continent is up, the quality of life for everyone is going to go up, and that kind of goes to what we were talking about earlier about the companies sending jobs and stuff there. I think that they should, as they're pouring money into those economy, lobby for change, right? Lobby for better work situations, and some there is some, right? There are companies, American companies that are trying to hold better responsible. Now they can't just force it because they're not the government, but lobbying for some change. But the great thing is if we can raise everybody up, right? Well, everyone's just going to make more money, right? And the playing field get leveled, and so some of those decisions won't happen as rapidly. That's everything always happens back, and so then I may look at it and say, well, cool, it's pretty much the same as if I do it here. If I do it in America, I'm just going to keep it in America.
And I think I hear a lot today about how like people say it in a cynical like doomsday sort of way, where it's like, oh, we're going to become this globalist economy and everything's going to be interconnected and we're all going to blah, blah, blah. And like the big tech is going to be our big brother, and they're going to like fuck us in the ass whenever they want. And that sounds terrible, but what you just described, that sounds like a very positive potential outcome of a more globalist world, where like a rising tide does raise all ships,
right? And
like if we have the capability of, and it's I don't want to get too far out on the limb, but it's you use the word irresponsible. I think it might be irresponsible for us not to work towards that. If we have the capability, like we're America, and really the West overall is very prosperous. It would be irresponsible for us to not build up others and try to encourage and encourage is fucking like flake word, but like truly I mean that, like to give courage to other countries and say like, you can do this shit too, and like we'll help you.
You're so right, and here's what people don't understand, and this is what I meant by everything goes in a circle. Like you're right, the countries in the West do better right now. It's because we're the newest. So whether you like it or not, it's been tracked back in that we all basically come from the continent of Africa, right? Doesn't mean you're African, blah, like we're not going to get into that, right? But that was like the main continent. Well, that's the reason why it's one of the most barren and the resources were depleted there, because it was one of the that was where we were. But then as we started getting drought, and all these people start branching out. Well, so America's doing great. Exactly, America's doing great now. It's the newest, on the whole, of course. Like, but guys, time is ticking. Like, go look at your history books. We're up next. That's all that means. And so
Yeah.
if you don't have an on-purpose effort to pull everyone up, yeah, I mean, it's not going to affect you and I. It's not probably going to affect our kids. Probably not going to affect our kids. But but like,
But it could.
right, America will be Africa. Like that will happen. That's so like you said. I think there should be an on purpose of like, can we keep now that we have the awareness, we've mapped every piece of the world. We have communication. We have resources. We can share. We can understand each other easier for like one of the like for the first times really in the world where like okay, I'm not like hopping over here and like trying to like we don't understand, like I can bring someone that like already knows how to speak and we can like communicate.
I got the Google Translate app on my phone. I could do any language.
Right, exactly. Like so yes, like you said, it's irresponsible to not say okay, let's pull everything up, and if not, that's cool. Call it karma, whatever you want. We're next. And no, and that may not directly affect you in your lifetime, but your descendants. And if you care anything about that, like I said, I think there should be this on purpose, not this, well, it was good while I'm here, so let me just pillage and get mine and, fuck everybody else.
Yeah. Yeah, completely agree. Completely agree. I think that's a narrative that could be getting pushed, that should be getting pushed, is like it's easy to look at the globalist like whatever, I don't know, what revolution or whatever the hell you want to call it, as a bad thing, but you can take just the same information and it's like one of the best things that ever happens. And it's just a matter of who it's a matter of, will individuals hold up their end of the bargain? Will enough individuals be responsible and have some character and like nut up and say like, and like act against things that are bad and act for things that are good and help things out? And it's like, that's if you get 1 million people to do that, it becomes contagious. And so to act in a way that's good and builds things up, like it's not and it's I struggle with this sort of thought a lot, is like how much effect do people in power really have? Like the Bill Gates and Zuckerberg and Bezos and things like that. It's like, we like to think, personally, I think we like to think they have more power than they actually do. Yeah. When the reality is they really don't. Like, it all comes back to me as an individual, to everyone as an individual. And that's one of the great, in my opinion, like one of the great discoveries of the West, and even I think more so America, is how individualized we are. And yeah, there's some bad that comes with that, and like the pull yourself up from your bootstraps sort of mantra can have holes poked in it left and right, and that's good. Like, everything can have holes poked in it, but like to some extent, it's like, if you got boots, like, pick your ass up and let's get to work, because it's up to you. Yeah. It's up to you on everything. Like, whether you succeed, whether the country succeeds, whether your family, let me hold off on your family, your friends, your city, your state, and your country is all on you. Whether you like it or not, like, and I think too many people get into the, idea that like everyone else is like controlling shit, and there's like, determination is already like, predestination is already sort of like set, like things are just going to happen, and like I'll just go through the motions,
right,
and hope things turn out okay. It's like, no, like you like we said a couple episodes ago, or maybe it was last episode, but it's like, whatever you believe or whatever you speak into existence is what you manifest. So like if you're manifesting, I'm just a cog in the army, then that's what you'll be.
Yep.
But if you manifest like I'm gonna make some change and like, it doesn't have to. You don't have to be Bill Gates. Be you.
Yep.
If you're like your level of effect and change might just be, taking care of, your friends and your family and putting your kids in a position to, take it even further. That's what my parents did, and like,
Right.
I'm running with that as far as I can go.
Exactly. I love that, man.
Me too, for sure. All right, I feel good.
Yeah, me too.
You good with that? I'm good with that.
I'm good with that.
Awesome. Awesome. Episode 17. Episode 6 in the books. Boom. All right, man. Appreciate you.
Appreciate
See you next week.
Yes, sir.
Peace.
Stay safe.